On the night of February 24th, 1978, 5 young men from Yuba City, California drove 46 miles to Chico to watch a college basketball game. They never made it home, and what happened to them over the next 3 months has never been fully explained. Jack Madruga, Ted Wire, Jackie Hewitt, Bill Sterling and Gary Mathias were close friends, each living with mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions. On February 24th, 1978, they piled into Madruga's Mercury Montego for the drive to California State University, Chico. The trip to Chico was routine for the group, a chance to watch a college basketball game together. By all accounts, nothing about that evening suggested anything was wrong before they set out. They attended the game as planned, but sometime after it ended, instead of heading straight back toward Yuba City, the 5 men and their car disappeared into the night far off their expected route. When the men failed to come home, their families reported them missing. Search efforts began, but for days there was no sign of the car, the men, or any indication of what happened after the game. On February 27, 1978, a U.S. Forest Service ranger found Madruga's car. It was abandoned, stuck in a snowbank on a remote mountain road deep inside Plumas National Forest, far from any route the group should have taken home. The car sat roughly 70 miles from Yuba City, on a dirt road that made no sense for 5 men trying to get home from Chico. Investigators found the vehicle was in good working order. That left investigators with an immediate question. Why would the group drive so far out of their way onto a rough mountain road in a car that hadn't broken down? No answer was ever found. For more than 3 months, there was no further trace of Madruga, Wire, Hewitt, Sterling, or Mathias. The search for 5 missing men had gone cold, and their families were left waiting. Then on June 4th, 1978, motorcyclists riding through the forest came across a remote US Forest Service trailer. It sat roughly 19 to 20 miles from where the abandoned car had been found months earlier. Inside the trailer, they found the decomposed body of Ted Wire, wrapped in blankets on a bed. After more than 3 months missing, one of the 5 men had finally been found, but the questions were only beginning. Wire's beard growth suggested he had survived alone inside the trailer for 8 to 13 weeks before he died. The cause of death was determined to be hypothermia and starvation. What made this especially hard to explain was that the trailer was stocked with food, matches, kindling, a butane heater and warm clothing. Resources that could have kept Wire alive yet appeared largely unused. In the days following the discovery, search teams recovered the remains of Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling and Jackie Hewitt. Their bodies were scattered across the distance between the abandoned car and the isolated trailer. By the time they were found, wildlife scavenging had damaged the remains significantly. Investigators were unable to determine an exact cause of death for Madruga, Sterling or Hewitt. Gary Mathias was never found. Despite extensive searches of the surrounding forest, no trace of his body was ever recovered. One final, unresolved piece of a case already full of unanswered questions. Inside the trailer, alongside Wire's remains, searchers found Mathias's shoes. Why they were there, without him, has never been explained. And it remains one of the case's most haunting details. Between the strange location of the car, Wire's untouched supplies, and Mathias's absence, investigators were left with a set of facts that never fit together into a clear explanation. For decades, the case of the Yuba County Five remained officially unsolved. No suspect was ever identified, and the exact circumstances that led the men off course were never established by investigators. That changed slightly in 2020. An internal memo from the Yuba County Sheriff's Office dated October 8, 2020, reflected a shift in how investigators viewed Gary Mathias's disappearance specifically. The memo stated that investigators believed Gary Mathias had been a victim of foul play, and that his case remained open as a missing person and homicide investigation, a designation that applied specifically to Mathias. That memo wasn't made public until 2023 after it was obtained through a public records request, giving the public its first look at how investigators' thinking had evolved over more than 40 years. Even with that reclassification, no suspect has ever been named or charged in connection with Matthias's disappearance or the deaths of the other 4 men. The case remains open. Why the car was abandoned so far off course, why Wire didn't use the supplies around him, and what ultimately happened to Gary Matthias are all questions that, as of today, still have no official answer. More than 45 years later, the Yuba County Five remain one of California's most enduring unsolved mysteries. 5 friends who set out for a basketball game and never fully came home. Their case remains open, a reminder that not every disappearance ends with an answer.